We have Renju Peroor, who will be talking about nonlinear dynamics and frequency comb generation in macroscopic artificial spin ice.
Can you hear the screen? Sorry, can you hear me? Can you see the screen?
Yeah, all coming through. Thank you. Take it away.
Yeah. All good? Okay. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Renju Peroor, a graduate student from University of Colorado at Colorado Springs. Today, I'm very happy and excited to share my work on the study of macroscopic mechanomagnetic artificial spin ice. The study is based on the dynamics of the system, that is the frequency comb generation. So before I dive deep into my experiment and the results, let me briefly walk you through the spin ice and also the artificial spin ice. The spin ices have a frustrated lattice structure where the spins obey the 2-in, 2-out rule at each vertex, similar to that of the water ice. The main examples of the spin ices are natural materials like pyrochlores. It leads to degenerate ground states and the frustration-induced excitations. If we could reconfigure the lattice, which will help the researchers to tune their interactions in many geometries, which will give rise to the artificial spin ice concept. So here are many geometries of artificial spin ices, such as square and the Kagome lattice geometry that I have shown on the left-hand corner. These structures has been the test bed for the experimental studies because of their simple geometry. So on the right-hand side of the slide, there are other geometries of artificial spin ice, including the quadrupolar, trident. It's just an example I'm showing here. Artificial spin ice is made by arranging nanomagnets in 2D lattice, and that follows the ice rule. There have been a lot of studies on artificial spin ice. One among is, which I'm showing here, is the numerical study to investigate the spectrum evolution in different ground state. This similar ground state arrangement can be observed in real time in macroscopic artificial spin ice. And the studies, there are studies so far. I'm taking here 2 studies, which is the study on the ground state of macroscopic artificial spin ice, and also the study on the topological defects like the monopole defects. So I just want to remind you that I'm moving on to my experiment. So what I want to remind is that my work looks at the dynamics of the system, that is how the system evolves in time, including the frequency comb generation. So let me take you through the journey of this interesting and amazing project. This project started with the funding from IEEE Magnetic Society for a grant for students project called Game of Magnets. And it is to create an educational model for kids. So here we built a large-scale mechanical artificial spin ice. And these mechanical parts of these lattice are engineered and 3D printed and assembled in our lab. And what started as an educational model soon revealed rich physics when it was driven by a dynamic magnetic field. As shown here, in Kagome lattice, we see the Dirac string-like excitations. Here, rectangular lattice shows strong nonlinear oscillations. So here I have a comment that this makes the spin dynamics visible in real time. Here, the rectangular lattice structure is the lattice structure of my interest. So what I'm going to do here is to zoom into the rectangular lattice structure and focus on one magnet. And we can observe that this irregular oscillations for this single magnet when a dynamic magnetic field is applied. So it started as a fun project. We got interesting results when driven using dynamic magnetic field. Now let us see how much this lattice dynamics relates to nanoscopic artificial spin ice. So to measure the dynamics, instead of the BLS or MOC method, we used a non-invasive method that is recorded using a high-speed video camera that records 250 frames per second. And the videos we extracted the time trace and which is plotted. It is done using this OpenCV processing. We observe that these oscillations are non-monotonous or non-sinusoidal. Then when we take the fast Fourier spectra, we see harmonics here similar to that of the frequency comb. But it is very soon to say that. Now, the system is driven by the dynamic magnetic field. There is a response recorded. So the question here is there a nonlinear response? So to understand this further, a mathematical model was created. Our model is deliberately very minimal. We used a torque equation balancing the Coulomb-like interactions between the magnetic charges at the tip of the magnetic rods. There is, of course, our applied dynamic magnetic field. And damping is also included, which is mainly the friction. All the parameters of the simulations are taken from the experiment. And using these parameters and values, we created a simulation model, and this as shown here. And when it is driven at higher amplitude, this behaves like a Dutch windmill. Now, to understand this mathematical model further, we first decided to look into the eigen mode of the system. This is done by exciting the system with a small field, and it's for a short period of time, and then switching it off and recording the ring down. Then we plotted the fast Fourier transform of this ring down response. It revealed discrete eigen frequencies, and it is expected for finite lattice like our rectangular lattice. Please pay attention to the spatial maps. We can say that this confinement leads to the standing wave patterns. Now, we decided to compare the experimental results with the theoretical simulations. We can see that they agree very well. The mode spectrum and the shapes match, and the eigenfrequencies align within a few percentage for the lowest modes. And we can say that it is in with good qualitative agreement with each other. This gives us a confidence that our minimal model captures the right physics. And so it provides a solid base for exploring the nonlinear regime. But we have to understand the full picture. So to understand that, we recorded the system for various excitation frequencies and plotted the fast Fourier transform in the form of an intensity map. At this point, it started to look strikingly similar to that of the one observed in the nanoscopic artificial spin ice. So that's good. So however, the features were not similar. So for example, the half frequency mode. So we have to understand the non-degeneracy at the half frequency mode. So I want to say that we have strong coupling between the magnets in our system. And when it is driven by a strong field, it leads to much wider separation between these magnets during the oscillations. So which leads to parametric down conversion process. Let's bring back our eigenfrequency spectrum. So let's say when our system is excited with a frequency 15 Hertz, which is not the eigenfrequency of the system, the mechanical magnon splits into two 7.5 Hertz. This slight degeneracy comes from the discrete eigenmode spectrum shown here. Basically the split populates the nearest allowed pair and the next nearest rather than the single exact half. So it helps us understand the half frequency modes using the parametric excitation process. Now let us look at one of the eigen frequency, which is around 10 Hertz. We could see the merging of the frequencies there. How do we understand what is going on there? So to probe this mechanism, we examined the amplitude dependence in the time domain. So and compared it with the simulation, and we see that it closely reproduces the experiment. So we are very confident that we can continue the analysis within the simulation domain. So we proceeded with that. So as we ramp up the drive amplitude, the dynamics follows a classic nonlinear route, starting with linear, period doubling, a comb, then second period doubling, third period doubling, and then chaos. This linear, going from the linear regime to period doubling to chaos, this clearly shows that this is the result of the Hopf bifurcation theorem. Now, we went further with our experiment, and using this experiment, we compute the fast Fourier transform at each amplitude. So here it is at one amplitude and compared to that of the theoretical simulation. And they are pretty similar. And then we stacked them up into a 2D spectral map and compared again with the theory. And we can see that at lower amplitude, we see a single ridge. And as the drive increases, these harmonics and subharmonics appear with sidebands. Beyond a threshold amplitude, what we can say that clear frequency comb appears. Okay, good. So I would like to conclude my talk that dynamics of our system is strikingly similar to nanoscopic artificial spin ice. Under strong oscillating field, the dynamics becomes more nonlinear, enabling mixing between many different modes. The same dynamics is observed in theoretical modeling. At higher magnetic flux density, the macroscopic artificial spin ice transition into a nonlinear regime, producing an equidistant frequency comb through amplitude and phase modulation. The magnetomechanical system provides a fresh perspective and innovative concepts for nanoscale engineered magnonic systems. I would like to thank my advisor, Dr. Boschko, for advising me in this project, Dr. Ezio Ayakoka and Lawrence for doing the theoretical simulation, and National Science Foundation IEEE Magnetics for funding for this project. And thank you all for listening to me. Questions?
Oh, thank you very much. That's such a cool talk. Really interesting.
Thank you.
So we have a little bit of time for questions. If you have any, please type it in the chat or raise your hands. So I was wondering, I think it's really interesting how it matches all this dynamic response really well for your artificial spin ice. Do you think there's any other of these scientific concepts or behaviors you think your microscale system could be used to gain insights into?
It is pretty much a nonlinear. It's a very coupled nonlinear system. So, there you have magnetic and mechanically coupled. So yes, if we provide if this concept is what we can use in other nonlinear systems, yes, we can do that.
Yeah. I believe Galen has a question.
Yeah, thank you for the nice talk. I really like the sort of toy model that you made. And
yes.
I'm just curious, when you did these, how do you induce the excitations on that toy model? Like, do you just sort of flick one of the magnets, or how do you get them to?
Yeah, then we started, that's a very interesting question. Okay. So what we did was we started with just flicking one of the magnets, and then that is how we saw the nonlinear behavior. Then what we did was we used a magnetic coil underneath that board, this lattice structure, and we excited the system using a magnetic field, which is out of plane.
Thank you. Yeah, that is really cool.
Thank you.
And I think we have one more question from Esther. She's asking, would you consider temperature too in your model?
And yes, that's a good question. We did it at room temperature because this is a macroscopic model. We did it at room temperature, and my model is not very sensitive to temperature. Yes, if it go to nanoscale, yes.
Makes sense. Well, thank you very much. Let's thank the speaker one more time.
Thank you.